Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is something a little bit different for me today because usually I would post this sort of thing on TikTok, but I actually feel like making a little bit of a longer, more in-depth video on it, and I thought, let's just try posting this on YouTube and see what happens. So this might become a recurring thing where I post videos about longer, more in-depth things here, but otherwise we're just trying it out. We're seeing how it goes. So today we are here to talk about the Democratic Alliance, and I've got quite a bit I want to say. There are two things that have kind of been posted or happened recently with regards to the DA that I want to talk about, and I want to talk about the way they kind of fit together, or more so don't fit together. The two things are firstly this tweet that was posted by the Democratic Alliance and the associated cartoon that was posted with it, which is obviously problematic for a variety of reasons that we're going to get into. And secondly, the fact that the Democratic Alliance announced their candidate for Premier of KZN this week. So I have long maintained that the Democratic Alliance has a perception and a branding problem. That while, yes, they may be able to point to certain areas that they govern and say, look, we govern well, we are doing objectively better than the ANC in many respects, that people are not buying into that because of the way the DA presents itself, markets itself, brands itself. And I think this tweet from, let me remind you, the official Democratic Alliance Twitter account is a perfect demonstration of that. Just for a little bit of brief context on the tweet, it is basically regarding a situation in the city of Tshwane where Julius Brink is a DA mayor of the metro area. Recently, there have been a lot of striking workers in the metro region, and the mayor has been trying to deal with the situation in the city and sorting out like the financial situation of the city in particular. There obviously is a little bit more detail to the situation than that, but that's basically all the context that you need for the purposes of this video. So the tweet is in response to that situation, and the cartoon that has been posted with the tweet obviously uses very racist imagery, portrays black people in a very derogatory way in that cartoon, and is like presenting Julius Brink as fighting against these what are supposed to be representations of the striking workers. The cartoon is full of dog whistles, and as a black person, I can imagine that it's not going to make you feel super comfortable in voting for the DA if they are promoting this sort of imagery. So how does all of that relate to the DA announcing its candidate for Premier in KwaZulu-Natal for the 2024 national elections, Chris Pappas? Well, to understand, I want to show you part of a speech that Pappas gave when he was being announced as the Premier candidate.
Ngo-1994 abantu babenovalo lokuthi kwakuzokwenzekani, kodwa abantu baphuma ngomningi babo balethe ushintsho. Angeke sisenge izimithelo sithi akukho okwenzekile. Siyazibona izindlu zomxhaso, siyabona abanye abangenawo ugesi sibeqhunywe kugesi. Nokoke manje wonke umuntu usebunyameni ngoba bahlulekile. Abantu abaqashiwe imisebenzi sebayaphelela, manje bahleli emakhaya. Abantwana bayafunda kodwa wekho amakhompyutha nezindlu zangesese ezikoleni. Amadamu akhona, amanzi agcwele, kodwa amanzi lawa awafinyeleli emakhaya. Amagranti ayatholakala, kodwa sekungakanani bahluleka ukukhokhela ngesikhathi. Lapha esifundazweni sethu abantu sebeka bashintshe ivoti labo, kodwa impilo zethu zisesimweni esibi kakhulu nakuqala. Manje sekuyisikhathi sokuba siqine isibindi sokuthi sishintshe ivoti, sinika abanye amandla kuhulumeni. Asifuna abantu abazokhankasa ngamanga, asisafuna abantu abazokhankasa ngokuxolisa.
In this speech, Pappas is trying to convince people, obviously, to vote for the Democratic Alliance, and particularly for him as the candidate for Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. And this speech is a very sharp departure from the way that the DA usually markets itself. I mean, you can see, comparing this speech, the one that Papas gave, to the tweet that was posted by the official DA account, those could almost be from two completely different parties. This speech is a rare example of the Democratic Alliance getting it right, actually portraying their message in a way that will be appealing to voters. And there are a couple of reasons why this speech works where so much of the other DA's messaging fails. One of the major things, obviously, is that Papas is not speaking in English. He is speaking in Zulu. And that makes perfect sense because he is speaking to people in KwaZulu-Natal. He is speaking the language of the constituency that he wants to serve. And it's a small thing, but it instantly makes him so much more relatable to his constituency. But not just is Papas speaking the language of his constituency, it comes across as natural and authentic. If we compare this to the speech in Afrikaans that John Steenhuisen gave, I think it was a few weeks ago, relating to the issue of farm murders.
Ek wil graag ook direk praat met ons boere. Alhoewel Julius Malema se geweld ons hele land in swaar kry sal dompel, koeste hy 'n besondere haat.
It is just night and day. John felt uncomfortable. He felt forced. It felt inauthentic, whereas Papas comes across as very natural, very authentic. And I think that's the key thing, is that it doesn't seem like Papas is just speaking the language simply to pander to the audience. It comes across as very, very authentic. But the actual language that the speech was given in is just one small piece of it, one small piece of the puzzle. What we also need to talk about is the actual words that he's saying, the message that he is giving. Because if you're familiar with any sort of DA publishings, media releases, speeches, any messaging from the DA, you'll immediately know that this is coming across as quite different. But when you look at the actual substance, the core message is not actually different. The core message is very consistent with what the DA has been saying. It's just the way it's presented, the way it is packaged is so different that it comes across a lot better for the DA. One of the DA's main talking points is that the ANC is failing the country dismally and that it's time to give another party a chance to rule and that that party should be the DA. They really want to emphasize how the ANC is terrible, the ANC is failing people. And to a certain extent, Papas does this.
Abantu abaqashiwe imisebenzi sebeyaphelela manje bahleli emakhaya abantwana bayafunda kodwa wekho amakhompyutha nezindlu zangesese ezikoleni amadamu akhona amanzi agcwele kodwa amanzi lawa awafinyeleli emakhaya abantu sebeka bashintshe ivoti labo kodwa impilo zethu zisesimweni esibi kakhulu nakuqala.
He is falling perfectly in line with the DA message that things are worse now than they were in 1994. But what is different here is that within that, there is also an acknowledgement of why people would have voted for the ANC in 1994. Why people might have voted for the ANC since 1994. The DA often has a problem with talking down to their voters, coming across as very condescending towards their voters, making them seem like as if they're idiots for even considering voting for the ANC. A lot of their politicians do this throughout the DA's structures. This is like a common theme in the DA. Whereas this speech from Papas, completely does a 180 on that. And it comes across as so much more personable. People don't want to be told that they're idiots for having voted for the ANC in the past. That is not going to help them vote for the DA in the future. Papas manages to avoid this condescension, avoid talking down to people and telling people that they're idiots for having voted for the ANC in the past, while still maintaining the DA as a superior option and maintaining that the ANC has failed people. And he does this very skillfully throughout his speech in the specific examples that he uses, for example, of people who were employed and got jobs but are now unemployed, of dams that are full but water is not getting to people's homes, of social grants that are, yes, there but often get paid late. What all of those examples do is that they acknowledge that, yes, there is a reason you voted for the ANC. They are giving grants, they have promised employment, they have built RDP houses, they have done this, that, and the next thing, but they have failed in a number of aspects relating to that, and that is why they are no longer an effective government and why you should rather vote for the opposition being the DA. That is a very, very effective way to communicate why people should not just vote for the DA, but change their vote from the ANC to the DA. Because what the DA needs to do is not just win over people who are not voting, it's win over people who are voting for the ANC or who were voting for the ANC in the past. So this speech is a pretty rare example of a win for the DA in terms of messaging, branding, appealing to voters, and actually trying to win people over to their side to vote for them. The problem is like I said, it's a rare example. And for every one speech we get from someone like Papas, there are countless examples of tweets like this. For every Chris Papas in the DA, there is a Helen Zille, a John Steenhuisen, a Ronaldo Goos. And unfortunately for the DA, at this point, there is just not enough of that good messaging to outweigh the bad. Especially because when it's bad, it's not just bad, it is atrocious. There are a lot of examples of where the DA has completely messed up in terms of their messaging, posting racist imagery like this tweet, posting incendiary comments like the posters that were up in Phoenix. These sorts of things bring the DA down far more than a speech like this from Chris Papas can bring it up. This speech shows that the DA actually has the potential to market themselves as a truly mass appeal party on a broader level. But the DA just simply is unwilling to take advantage of that potential on a larger scale. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the DA at the moment. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know if you like this kind of format of video. It's very much just me kind of speaking what I'm thinking in the moment, but going a little bit more in depth than I might usually do on a TikTok video. So if you want more videos like these in the future, let me know, like the video, subscribe, because who knows, I might be posting a bit more of these in the future.